Hey, welcome back again. So it's our third part of our virtual event. Now we will be talking about the future of sales development. We'll have more in a few minutes. Currently, we have Alex Greer from SetSail. He is the senior director of sales development operations there. So, hi, Alex.
Hi, William. Thanks for having me on.
How have you been? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm in beautiful Denver, Colorado. The leaves are changing. Couldn't be a better time of year to be in Denver.
Oh, wow, cool. So yeah, today we will be talking about the future of sales development. I actually have been following SetSail for a while, and then I realized, yeah, that's for sure a part of our sales future, actually. Yeah. Hi, Morgan. Hi,
What's
Morgan.
happening? Alex, what's going on, man?
Hey, Morgan. Long time no see. How you been, buddy?
Been a minute, man. I've been good.
Yeah, man. You've been moving and shaking. You're doing big things.
I know. I'm just trying to do what I got to do.
Yeah, hustling, always hustling.
Always.
And as a Lakers fan, I appreciate the Mamba mentality there in the background. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, rest in peace as a whole. But I always have mad love for everything Kobe's done. He taken way too soon because his investments and from a business standpoint where he was about to go was about to be so just cool to see. But it's tough for sure. It's tough.
He had a plan for sure.
He did.
Cool. Excited to talk shop with you, William. I know you got a lot of great questions for us, so let you lead this thing.
Cool.
So for our first question, are you know each other, guys, or?
Yeah, we've known each other for a few years. Morgan's invited me on his podcast. Big fan of everything Morgan's doing. We run in the same circles sometimes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, guys, we can get started. We have, I would say, the theme of AAA for those who know who play computer games. So we have AAA SDR leaders and sales leaders. So let's get started. So now we're talking about the future of sales development, how it will evolve. So our very first question, we're not talking about sales development itself, but from Volley to Skynet, are you afraid of AI and machine learning, things like that?
Who do you want to go first?
I'm not scared at all. I'm not scared of AI at all. Honestly, I'm really not. And now, if you watch iRobot, you might be, you might be terrified. But here's the thing about AI. But here's also the thing about anything, is that if you look at let's say the past 25 years, you'll notice that slowly but surely jobs get eliminated due to technology as a whole. Right? You go to the grocery store and you notice there's less and less lines. I was in the grocery store last weekend. There was 3 lines of people working, but everything else was self-service. At some point, all of those will probably be self-service, right? So ultimately what happens is that you have to evolve your skills. Skills is what's going to help you get not eliminated. So am I personally scared about it? No. Can other people be scared about it? Probably, because that means you need to level up, because the AI only accelerates and helps you, right? It can obviously take you out, though, if you're not evolving. And a book that I read from Bob Iger, he was the CEO of Disney, chairman of Disney. And one of the things that stood out to me in a book, and he literally said, innovate or die. That's literally the scenario here. If you're not innovating, if you're not leveling up, then eventually you'll actually die, but you will die out and you'll not have the opportunities that you want. So that's where I would start with this one.
Yeah, man. I mean, I come from a similar place where I understand the fear if you feel like your job is going to be directly replaced by some level of automation. The reality is with technology especially is if your job can be automated, there's going to come a point where a computer can do that job for you, but that does not mean that the job is eliminated. There's other opportunities that get created. I mean, this is happening over and over again in history, the Industrial Revolution with machinery, the shift from fossil fuels to green energy. Jobs go away, but new jobs get created. Ultimately, what I feel is that the truth is, I think what's going to be a big theme of this conversation is how these tools, how automation, how AI frees up humans to do other much higher value tasks. And you're not doing the tedious minutia that could be done and will be done by a computer. So I'm excited about it because it frees people up to do other high value activity.
Yeah, awesome. I'm actually on your side because on your side, I'm excited to see the future of AI. But to be honest, a few years ago, I was on the opposite side. Remember when they accepted that GDPR law? I was afraid that that's it. Sales development gonna die. Sales engagement gonna die. So I just went to my product manager for VP of product and said, okay, so what are we doing here? So our product gonna be useless. But he said, no worries, it shouldn't change anything. So I guess the same with AI, that's gonna just help us. Okay, second question. Now let's talk about sales development and let's talk about midterm trends. So what do you think, how sales development will change in 2-3 years from now? Are there any significant trends you see?
This is a good one because it's like, a lot of it depends on what happens, like from a global macro standpoint, right? Things that are not in our control whatsoever, right? I would say though, when it comes to this, is that I believe that the role will become more specialized, and there'll be less generalists. And so what I mean by that is, I think there'll be like more one-to-one. You're already starting to see it, more one-to-one SDRs with AEs. You'll actually start seeing some organizations have done expansion SDRs. So what they're doing is their account managers, they typically may not know they may not know the process of how to prospect. Not to say that they don't know what they're doing. It's just, this is not their normal thing. So they'll take SDRs that have done really well and they'll make them expansion SDRs and dive back into existing customer bases to then schedule meetings for the AMs or whoever it may be. So where I see the role going is that it becomes more specialized, where we already obviously have strategic and enterprise, but it's going to be like, you're going to be a healthcare enterprise SDR, and this is the only thing that you do. And I think we're going to start getting in that direction because buyers are obviously going to continue to get more knowledgeable. So we have to make sure that the seller becomes more knowledgeable. And if they're only focused on one segment, if they're only focused on one thing, it's going to be easier. Now, how that works out from a pipeline standpoint, depending on how the money flows from the investment standpoint too. But I would say that the sales development, the changes is going to be more granular. It's going to be more specialized, and you may even have less SDRs as a whole because it's going to be more specialization. At least that's what I'm sensing. That's what I'm seeing. Only time will tell, though.
Yeah, man. I'm seeing that too. I'm seeing ratios shrink. I'm seeing more specialization on LDR versus BDR versus expansion BDR. We even had at Cloudera, we had a services arm specific to training. And so we flipped an SDR to focus exclusively on finding those services opportunities. So that's one area for sure. I think another macro change that I'm seeing is, I think most companies out there that are building out their tech stack have now turned to a tool like reply.io and similar ones that really help do activity at scale. And so the consequence of that was you saw the SDR role become effectively a mass email marketer type role for a lot of people. And I'm seeing the pendulum starting to swing back. Doing that, you're run a very high risk of that communication becoming noise and being ignored. So using those tools, using tools like reply.io still to orchestrate your tasks, but swing the pendulum back to more of a task reminder tool to really, personalize the message a little bit more, make it a higher white glove type touch. And really then shifting from activity focused management, which I'm still seeing a lot of, minimum number of dials, minimum number of emails, minimum number of new contacts added per day, less of that, or maybe less priority on that and more on quality and effectiveness, measuring those pieces. Are we reaching the right people and getting responses and high quality responses and setting up those meetings versus pure volume activity based type metrics?
Got it. So cool. Yeah, actually, sounds like you're right here because I'm not sure, but currently I can see lots of SDRs needed in the cybersecurity space, for example, right? So as you mentioned regarding healthcare. Okay, so the third question, it's more about definitely future. What do you think by 2020s? It's imagine it's 2031st year. So how does sales development look like? It's still alive to rely on our channels, or it's something new, something different?
Yeah, I mean, Morgan hit on it really well in the last question. I think where I'd expand on that is, listen, we just had and we're still in a global pandemic, and the SDR role is here to stay. In fact, it's thriving. It's more mission critical than ever as far as the primary way of developing pipeline. So if anything, I see organizations doubling down. I mean, when I started as an SDR myself in 2015, it was a 1-to-6 SDR AE ratio. I was supporting 6 AEs. We're already seeing companies shrink that down to 1-to-2, 1-to-1 pods. I'm even hearing companies having multiple SDRs per AE, so the ratio is starting to flip. So that's a big thing, specialization, as Morgan was talking about. The other big thing is I'm seeing the job market being very, very competitive now. So I'm seeing pay increases and quota thresholds adjusting as the years go by. It's no longer, a very entry level type pay for the SDRs with really high, unreasonable type quotas. The SDRs that are seasoned and like being in that role see right through that and are going to push back on unreasonable quotas and pay that is too low compared to the rest of the job market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is well, in terms of channels, don't be surprised when people are doing virtual cold calls where it just pops on your phone. Don't be surprised these things happen, right? Because when the first iPhone came out, like around 2008, 2007, so it was about 13 years ago. So if you think about like in the next 10 years, there'll probably be even crazier stuff that will be out there from a technology standpoint. So the way that we would go about this would be completely different if we really think about it, right? So what I would tell you though is that everything that was being said here is accurate. I think the thing that we have to think about here is in terms of how pipeline will be allocated, who is going to be responsible for the pipeline, right? Because what could happen in the future is that the AEs might start getting more responsibility to build pipeline. Then the role completely changes. Then now it's like, well, maybe we get, like I mentioned earlier, we have way less SDRs because we have AEs building out pipeline. Maybe marketing completely changes from a demand standpoint. So now you don't need the top of funnel as much as you need from the SDRs. Those are other factors that take in consideration of like what the SDR will be at the end of the 2020s. But to answer the question, I still believe in the specialization piece. I really think that people will come in and be like, this is going to be your role. And what's going to happen is because of all the AI and technology in the background, it's going to feed you insights. I don't have to do as much research, right? It's all going to be fed right to me. And all I have to do is pull the lever to figure out how I'm going to make that call. How am I going to do that email? And there'll probably be multiple digital channels at that point. So I really just think about it as the SDR will be there. It'll be very product. You're going to understand all the product stuff because you're going to have so much information in your database. You're going to understand all the research because someone will already have a tool that will feed it to you. And your job is just to pull levers to make sure it's relevant on how a human would talk, like because of the technology that we'll have at that point.
Amazing. Yeah, cool. So nothing to worry for SDRs and SDR leaders, I guess you're right. Okay, when we talk about sales channels, what do you think? Will we have any shift, any changes here as well, or we will still have emails, phone calls, LinkedIn, video touches as the most important part of our outreach prospecting strategies, or are there any changes?
I could see video getting. I could see video having it's relevant right now, right? It's during the whole entire pandemic. It's easier to connect with people via video because we're not meeting in person. So there's a slight uptick of that happening. There's a graphic I was looking at a couple months ago. The highest engagement rate for people from an SDR standpoint was actually on LinkedIn, though. So I'm going to say in the next 5 years that the best way to schedule and interact with people is going to be connecting with people on a social network like LinkedIn. There may be a new one that comes out in 5 years, who knows, and connecting with those people in a digital and human way via video, because there's going to be a lot of things across the board. And to answer that question, no, I wouldn't have any concerns about that across the board because it's on LinkedIn. There's no spam filter that can occur through LinkedIn. If it's email, yes, but on LinkedIn, no, because there's no spam filter. So essentially, you could connect with people one-to-one, and it's actually easier for you to do that. And that's why I actually think it'd be better because there's no spam filter there. So that's what I would tell you is the future, because more and more people are engaging on social. The numbers are continuously going up. The engagement rates are going up. More people are signing on to LinkedIn. The data's all there. So that leads me to believe that more people will want to be more on the social networks because they're going to want to be more social, because maybe outside of their world, they want to go learn more information, whatever that may be. So I see the future of that being on the LinkedIn platform. If there's another platform that occurs, we'll discuss it, and interacting with those people via video.
Nice. I always love to hear what Morgan's perspective is on this one. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't have any data to back this up, but just anecdotally, email and phone, don't not do it, but it's getting harder and harder to connect with those channels. It's really easy for people to ignore the call. It's really easy for your email to get lost in the inbox, even if the personalization or the message is really good. But on LinkedIn, it is still ridiculously easy to stand out versus all of the like really bad, like nondescript connect requests and really poor emails. Like, it is insanely easy to stand out. And if you insert video on top of that, so much the better, because you're able to convey much more information with your intonation and your body language. I think, video is effective in that I'm seeing people evolve it. It's transitioned from the whiteboard, like, hi, Morgan.
The whiteboard.
Got old real fast. I'm very likely to respond if you've got a video, thumbnail, or GIF that shows me something about my company that stands out to me with you in the picture-in-picture, and you're telling me something specific to what we're doing. I'm seeing that being super effective. So social, video, those are interesting as far as things that come out in the future. I mean, Clubhouse is interesting. I don't know about it as a way to engage, but certainly another place where, like, if Morgan or a persona that you want to connect with is having some type of discussion on Clubhouse and they see your face and name pop up there, that's another interesting angle. Don't discount checking out people's Twitter profiles if they have them, especially if marketing is your persona. They usually have a profile and they blend a lot of their personal stuff into their Twitter profiles too. And so it's really interesting that direct mail is, an old school tactic that's become new again. Sendoso and companies like that are doing really well. And so if you see somebody's a particular type of sports fan or type of animal they love, then you can use that to do really effective direct mail campaigns. So there's a variety of ways that you can stand out above the email and phone method of trying to get in touch with people.
Yep, amazing. So probably a few more questions for me, then we have tons of questions from the chat. Currently, I'm actually also a big fan of video prospecting, but currently there are a few tools. There are tools that allows you like automate even personalized videos. Or for example, Google just a few years ago like introduced an AI that can book a meeting for you, like with your hair cutter, for example. And I was like, it was like 4 years ago, 2017, I guess, something like that. So now maybe let's talk about an ethical part of this approach. Should we kind of use AI and automate all our interactions, for example, using like video outreach at scale, or what do you think? Or should we just keep it to the SDRs?
Yeah, so there's a lot of these AI generated one-to-one video, or just video tools in general, capitalizing on the whole deep fake movement. It's become crazy effective, or effective in the way of like it looks authentic. So my take on this is this: like, I'm a big fan of any type of AI or automation that boosts efficiency. Those are huge. But as far as AI that serves as a direct substitution for people and what is meant to be a one-on-one human interaction, I think that's going to be a turnoff. So I could see it being effective for like marketing messaging, but as far as having an AI bot communicate to somebody in my place, I think would be kind of creepy. Now, if it was my face, then maybe it would work, but then that's also creepy. I don't know. I'm not down with deep fake of myself just yet.
Keyword is not just yet, right? So I think with this, when you think of AI, it's about automating things that don't necessarily need the human involved, right? That would require you getting away from active selling time. And active selling time for sellers typically isn't that high. I don't know what the exact stat is, and I don't want to butcher it, but it's not that high. So that's what AI comes into play. It eliminates the things that a seller doesn't really need to do that is preventing them from actually selling, which is their job. So the job is for you to get meetings. The job is for you to sell. Then ultimately, I think this can actually derail from that purpose, because what happens is that you rely on this too much, and then you don't even know how to do your own pitch. And then now you get rusty and you can't actually even do it. And that's where the problem comes into play. So I see this, it could, like, let's say this, you can A/B test it. You can see if it works or not. I always believe in that. But I think ultimately, I think it would derail your impact of how you would reach out to prospects.
I would love to see an A/B test of deepfake Morgan versus real Morgan.
I would too. It'd be interesting. You see what happened.
Oh, yeah, cool. So yeah, I got it. Amazing. Now probably let's go through a few questions from the chat. Here's one. What do you think about selling via Instagram in the future? Or even RM? What is that? RM?
I don't think about it as in the future. Like, you could do that right now if you wanted to. It depends on your audience. Like, if your audience doesn't live on Instagram, then I would not be on Instagram. If your audience lives on Pinterest, then you probably need to go figure out Pinterest, right? None of my clients live on Pinterest, so I will never be there. So ultimately, it's not about the future. It's about where are your people at right now. So if they're on LinkedIn, you need to figure out LinkedIn. If they're on Twitter, you need to figure out Twitter. So it's about where the prospects live, and then you capitalize on it from there.
Yeah. Now, speaking of where they live, I have seen advertising on LinkedIn, or not on LinkedIn, on Instagram be effective. Like, buyers now are of the Instagram age, So if you're doing impressions there, or on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever, like, I do believe that that's effective. As far as like sliding into the DMs of your prospects on those tools, I don't know about that. Like, because it still is used more for more personal stuff, whereas LinkedIn,
right,
you keep it professional. So that's my take on using those types of alternate social media channels.
Awesome, got it. So we have another great question from Nathan Ward. I wanted to ask it later, but he did it first. Eventually, how do you think, it's again about future and AI, will eventually AI take over the SDR role, or do you believe people will still be like attached to that human element in sales? Like, probably whether or not we need sales like in few years.
Yeah.
So here's the macro trend that's happening is now you're hearing the term PLG a lot, product led growth. And so you have people that are now starting to buy B2B type tools, enterprise type tools on individual plans where a human doesn't need to be involved. But that just serves as a beachhead for a company that does sell enterprise deals to then figure out which companies are starting to show a lot of interest. This is exactly what companies like Reply, Zoom, Slack, Asana, they all make versions of their product available for anybody to download. If they use their business email and you see a number of people using the same domain, then that's a perfect indicator that might be the opportunity for a human to reach out to a human and start developing a dialogue to right size, a price and package that, serves the whole team and their purposes. So I do see, PLG handling a lot of the automation piece in terms of capturing the initial customer. But as far as doing the enterprise deal, ultimately humans are still doing deals with humans. And I don't see that going away in the near term.
Yeah, I definitely can can see that piece. I've heard a lot about the product-led growth as well. I'm actually glad you touched on it. You definitely have some good context there because that's definitely happening. I know from Tesla, I think you don't even. Someone told me you don't even talk to a rep. You just fill it out online, and then the car shows up or something like that. Someone told me.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild. Yeah.
I mean, so that's definitely disrupted, the car dealership industry. I didn't have to talk to nobody at all.
Yeah.
When I got mine.
Yeah, it's insane. I have a different point that I want to make for you all. So let's say you have to call. Say if you call an airline. And you have a question. How many of you all love talking to the robot that doesn't actually answer any of your questions?
Such a good point. Yes.
That's my point. That's my point. I get it. I'm so mad. I'm like, I just want to talk to someone that's a human that can actually answer my question, right?
Until there's AI that can substitute a dialogue, you're still experiencing a phone tree chatbot type experience, which can only take you so far.
I've never found any of them to be helpful. Let's just say that. I'm actually even more upset when I actually get someone live on the phone and I'm angry. And I don't like being upset. It's just they don't answer any of the questions. Right?
Well, and when you reach the point where you're trying to talk to somebody, the phone tree serves no purpose. You're calling because you need to talk to somebody. Otherwise, you would have done it yourself.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So that's my point, is that I think that will be fine. If they fix it, then a different conversation. But right now, I have not seen anything that's blown me away. I'll say that.
I agree. So actually, a few years ago, I wanted to. I used a web hosting provider, one of them, and I wanted to get my refund. Like it was like $20 or something like that. And I was on a call with a robot for like 2 hours, I guess. I just wanted to give it a try, and I wasn't amazed with their like, I guess AI routing to at least chatbots that can cancel me or request a refund. That's gonna be awesome. So probably nothing gonna change in 2 years.
Yeah, should be good for now.
Good. Should be good. Okay, so we have a few more minutes. Okay, let's talk about automation. We just discussed AI, and probably here's the last question for maybe SDR leaders, SDRs. Sales leaders out there. So how do you think, guys, what should SDR leaders kind of automate like by the end of this year to have their team more productive next year?
First take is any type of reporting. Anything that requires any type of manual tracking or having managers spend time building reports and dashboards when they should be spending time with their team coaching. That should absolutely be automated or delegated as much as possible. The other thing that I'm starting to see automated a bit more, seeing some interesting tools that help with this is messaging. I don't believe in taking the keys completely away from the individual contributors from building out the messaging, but a good amount of it could be automated, and then you give the SDR or AE the ability to freeform it from there. So those are the two key areas. And then I'd say even more specifically, any type of management of spiffs or any type of measurement of key behaviors that you would try to manually track or report on, that can absolutely be automated and should be.
Yeah, I mean, he took mine. So now I'm like, oh, what are some ones that I can recommend? Those are the ones I was going to lean on. I think it's one of those things that as a manager, this would be my thing. I'd write down things that you feel like are preventing you from being with your team more. And then you need to write down next to it, can this be automated or do I actually have to do them? So I don't have an exact answer because Alex took mine. But what I would say is like, think about it and be like, okay, is this taking away my time? Am I the only person that could do this? If I'm not the only person that can do this, that means it could be automated. Who or what do I need to talk to get that automated? So that would be like the mindset from like a high level of what I would do to figure out what I do need to automate.
Okay, amazing. So let's quickly sum it up. First of all, AI won't conquer us in the next 10 years, that's for sure. Then SDR role will be here, will stay with us. We will have some kind of specializations. We will still rely on emails, phone calls, LinkedIn, one-on-one communication. And sounds like a promising future, I guess, right?
Yeah, man, it's here to assist us. It's not here to take over our jobs. No, by no means.
Yep.
Okay, then guys, thanks for visiting us, for your time, and happy to see you in the future again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our pleasure. Thank you, Reply.io, for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Reply, for
Bye,
everything.
guys.
And Alex, always good
Bye,
seeing you.
everyone.